Hello everyone, I am Pradnya. In this video we are going to study chapter number 10, that is list manipulation. This chapter covers list in detail. So let's get started. Let's try to understand what is list. List is also one of the data type provided by the Python. It contains mixed type of data which are separated by comma, and the elements of the list we enclosed in a square bracket. One thing we can note down about the list is lists are mutable. Mutable means we can change the content of the list in place. When we change the content, the new list doesn't get created. Now let's try to understand how to create the list. List can be created in two ways. The elements of the list we can enclose in a square bracket and it can be separated by comma, or there is one more method to create the list by using list method. Using the first form of the list, we can create list in three different ways. This is the simple example. In this example, I am writing a list of values which are enclosed in the square brackets and separated by commas. If you don't write any elements, the empty square brackets will create the empty list. The second type of list is long list. Even list can contain many elements. So we can write the list of the elements in a square bracket and we can continue that list in the next line also. And there is one more form of the list, that is nested list. Nested list means a list which contains another list as its element. So look at the example. Here is a list with 4 elements. This is the first element, this is second element, and when you will check out the third element, it is also a list. So this list is enclosed inside the list 3. It is an example of nested list. We discussed the first way of creating list of enclosing the elements in the square bracket. There is one more way to create the list using list method. In this form of creation, we are creating a list from other sequence. So the sequence can be string, tuple, list, or can be a sequence type data. If we will not mention any sequence, in this case, we will get the empty list. Let's consider some of the example. In this example, we are creating the list using a string. So according to the syntax, we should write variable, then list method, and in the bracket, we have to enclose the sequence. From that sequence, new list will get created. So here I am mentioning the string. You can see here the list of the string got created. In the same way, here we are creating a list from the tuple. Tuple we enclosed in round brackets. I am storing the tuple in one variable and in the list method I am providing that variable. You can see here the list got created from tuple. You know list is a collection of values. Now how to access the individual elements of the list? We can access the individual elements of the list just like string. So it can be accessed by using index, and you can traverse the list in the forward direction as well as in the backward direction. When we access the string in forward direction, you know the index starts with 0, and when we traverse the list in the backward direction, the index will start with -1. This concept is similar to string. So if I want to access this A, I can write, so the name of the list is list1. In the bracket we have to mention the index. So the positive index is 1, and in the same way I can access this with negative index -3. In the previous chapter, we performed some basic operations on string data type. Now it's turn to perform the operations on the list data type. So here is the list of the operations. We will study how to traverse the list, how to compare the list, then we will join the two lists. We will see how to replicate the list and how to take out the part of the list, that is slicing. So the first operation which we are going to understand now is traversing a list. Traversing means visiting each element once. Actually, we have to iterate through the list so that we can access the individual elements. For that, we need some looping statement. We can use for loop for that. And you know, for loop can be used in two ways, with in membership operator and using range function also. So this is the syntax for that, and these are the some of the examples. So let's consider first example. I have initialized one list to the variable list1. Now I am taking one variable to iterate to each element of the list. So we will write in this way: for a in list1, and we are printing the values of the list. So the a will traverse to each and every elements of the list and it will get printed. So we will get this output. In the same way, we have used here range function. So here the value of a will be from 0, as we didn't mention here start. So it will start with 0 and it is going to length of list 1. So the length function returns the number of characters. You know, we have studied in the string also. So the total number of characters in this string are 6 and we don't include the upper limit. So the loop will be from 0 to 5, and you know this is the index value. So the index value of p is 0 and the index value of n is 5. So it will execute from 0 to 5, but we don't want to print the index. We want to print the elements of the list. So we are writing list of a. So the list of 0 means we can access the first element. In the same way, we will access till list of 5. So we will get the last element n. So in this way, we can iterate over the list using for loop. Now let's discuss how we can compare a list. Comparison means we are comparing the elements of one list with the elements of the another list. If both the elements are equal, then only we will get the answer true, otherwise we will get answer false. We are using here all the comparison operators for comparing a list. When we want to compare the list, both should be of same data type, both should be of list, then only we can compare the list against another list. So you can see in this example, the list 1 is equals to list 2. We are getting answer true because the elements of both the list are equal. The next operation which we want to perform on the list, that we have to join two lists. For joining, we are using concatenation operator. This also we studied in detail in case of string data type. It works in the similar manner. So let's consider the example. This is the list 1, this is the list 2, and I am using plus operator to combine both the list. So the elements of both the list will get combined. So when we are printing it, we can see here these are the elements of the first list and followed by the elements of the list 2. If you are joining the list, both the operations should be of list type. We cannot join one list along with another data type. So here I have shown some combinations which are not possible. I am trying to join list with number. You can see here this is the list and I am trying to join one number 5 to it, but it will show the error. You will get an exception type error. Similarly, here also we are trying to join complex number to the list. You can see here this is a complex number and this is the list 1. In this case also you will get the same error. Here I am trying to join string with the list, but in all the cases we will get the same error. So from this we understood that list can be joined only with another list, not with number, not with string, not with any other data type. The next operation is replicating list. Replicating means repeating the elements of the list. For that we are using this replicating operator. And the syntax for this is, first we have to mention the list and then use this operator and write the number here for how many times you have to repeat. So let's consider one example. Here is a list and I am multiplying it with 3. So the elements of the list will get repeated for 3 times. So this is the first time got repeated, and you can see here this is the second time it got repeated, and this is the third time. So we saw the replication of the list. It is just like string. The last operation is slicing list. Slicing means extracting the portion of the list from the main list, and we can do this using index. So here is the general form. First we have to mention the name of the list. Then we write the starting index. The second parameter is stop. It is the ending index of the list. The upper limit we don't include, so it will take till stop -1. And the last parameter is step. Step is the number of character to be skipped. Here also we don't take step, we take step -1. So while slicing, it will skip the number of elements specified by step. So let's consider one simple example. Here is one list with some elements. Now I have to take out the portion of the list from 2 to 5. As you know, we don't include the upper limit. It will take from 2 to 4. Now check out here index. This is the 0th index. 1, 2, 3, 4. So check out from 2 to 4. We will get 12 to 14. So this is the correct answer we are getting. We are getting 12, 13, 14. Now let's add step value and try to understand. Here the starting index is 1, so it will start with 1. Ending index we have mentioned at 7, but it will be up to 6. And the step value we have mentioned is 2, but it will not take 2. We have to reduce 1, so the step value will be 1. So let's write the index first, so it will be clear to us. This is 3, 4, 5 and 6. So our range is from 1 to 6. Now let's take first element is 11. So we are getting 11 perfectly. Now the step value is 1, means we have to skip the next element. So we will not consider this. After that we are getting 13. That is also perfect. Again we will skip the one element because step value is 1. So the next element we got 6. Again we will skip the next element. This is our final list. In this way you can take out the portion of the list from the main list. So let's move ahead with the next topic, that is making a true copy of the list. If we have already one list, we can copy to another list. So we can do it in a 3 way. The first method which we can use for that is list method. The second option we have copy method, and in the third option we can use slicing to copy one list to another list. Let's understand all these 3 types with one simple example. Here is a list with some elements into it, and using list I am going to create one another list. So the elements of A got stored into the list B. So we copied the content of one list into the other list. In the second example we are using copy method. So this is the way to write it, A dot copy. So with this statement we are copying the elements of A to B. In the third example we are applying the concept of slicing. You know, in slicing, if we skip the starting index and if we skip the ending index also, whole list will get scanned, and in this way we can initialize the element of one list to another list. So there are 3 methods to copy the list. You know, the list is a set of values, or we can say collection of values. It is actually a data structure where we are storing a huge collection of data. So we can perform some operations on that. We can add some elements, we can remove some elements, we can append some elements to it, and there are other operations also which we can perform on the data structure. So here is the list of the methods and functions which are used to manipulate list. The first function is len function. Len function gives the number of elements in the list. So here is the syntax to write len function. We have to mention the list in the len function. Let's consider one simple example. Here there is one list with 3 elements, and using len function we got the number of elements. In the second example we are using the nested list. So there are total 4 elements in the list. So we are getting the result as 4. This nested list is also considered as one element of the list. We will study the concept of nested list in this video. The second method is list method. We have discussed while creating the list we can use this list method to create the list. With this method we can create a list from another sequence. So here is the syntax. Let's consider first example. Here I am creating a list from another sequence, and the sequence is string. So we have included string here. You can see here we got the list. In the second example we are using one tuple to create the list. So tuple elements we enclosed in round brackets. So we got the new list. In the third example I am using another data type, that is dictionary. Dictionary we write in the form of key value pair and enclosed in a curly braces. We will study tuple and dictionary in the coming videos. So from dictionary also we can create the list. In case of dictionary, list will contain only the key values. It is very easy for you to understand the concept of these methods because we have used these methods in string data type in the previous chapter. So index also we used in string. It gives the index of the first match elements from the list. So let's look at this example. Here is a list with some elements. I have to find the index of the element 30. We have to specify here item from the list for which we have to find out the index. So you can see here the element 30 is at the index 2. So we are getting the correct answer. If the element is not in the list, then we will get the exception value error. If you have one list created with you and you want to add some elements to the list, then we can use the append method. Append method adds an item but at the end of the list. So here is the syntax, list.append, and we have to mention the item which we have to add in the list. It takes only one element because it will add only one element in the list at one time, and it returns no value because it will change the original list. It will not create new list. So let's consider a list of fruits. I have to add grapes to the list, so it will get added at the end of the list using the append method. Let's consider one more example. There is one list A with item 1 to 3. Now I want to append one element 4 to the list A. So I have written this method a.append, and I am storing this also in B. When I am trying to print the B, I am not getting any output because it will not create a new list. But when we are printing A, we are getting the original list with one added element. So the append method does not return any value. We studied append method to add an element to the list, but you can add only one element at a time. But what if I want to add multiple elements to the list? Then we can use the extend method. Extend method adds multiple items to the list. So in the extend method we pass another list. Let's consider one example. Here is a list 1 with these elements 2, 4, 6. Now there is one more list with 2 elements, and I want to add this list at the end of the first list. So I am using the extend method. So in the output you can see the list 2 got appended at the end of the list 1. So if you want to add only one item, you can use the append method. But if you want to add more items, you can use this extend method. We studied two methods to add elements to the list. One is append and one is extend. But what's the problem with these two methods? It adds the elements at the end of the list. But what if I want to add the elements at the specified location? Let's take one scenario. If in between the academic session, one student took the admission. Now I want the name of the list in the alphabetical order. So I cannot add the name at the end of the list. I have to add that name at the proper position. So if you want to add an item at the given position, we can use the insert method. So here we mention the index and we mention the item. So the item will get placed at the specified index. Let's consider one simple example. Here is a list of vowel where I forgot to write the vowel O. Now I have to add this element to that list at the proper position. Now where this element O should get added to the list? It should get added to the list before this element U. So we have to mention the index here before which the item will be inserted. So I mentioned 3 and before 3 the item will be inserted. Now you can see in the list after insertion this O got inserted at the place 3 because we mentioned here 3 and before this it will get inserted. So now the position of the O is 3. We studied 3 different methods to add item to the list. Now we will study how to remove the item from the list. For that we are using pop method. So here is the syntax list.pop. We have to mention the index of the element which we have to delete. So let's consider the same example. Here I mentioned the index 2 which I have to remove. So this is 0, 1, 2. So the I will get removed from the list. So when we will try to print it, we will get the item which we are going to delete. So this is the return value of the pop function. It returns the item which we are going to delete. And if we don't mention the index, it will remove the last element. So this index is optional. If I don't mention any index here, the last element will get removed. So this is the last element what we are going to remove from the list. We can apply this pop method to remove the entry in a situation like if any student is taking out admission in between the session and we have to remove that student's name from the roll. There is one more method to remove the item from the list is remove method. It removes the first occurrence of the given item from the list. In remove method we have to write the value or item which we want to remove. It does not return anything. So let's consider the same example. Here is a list of vowels. Now I have to remove one element from the list, so I have mentioned E here. So when you will print it, you will get the list with the removed item. If we are mentioning the element with the remove method which is not present in the list, then you will get the exception value error. To remove item from the list, we discuss two methods. The first one is pop method and the second one is remove method. In case of pop, we have to give the index and the value will get removed from the list. But in case of remove, we have to provide the value. As we are discussing about the removing an item from the list, there is one more way to remove the item using DEL statement. It can remove the individual item or it can remove a slice or a portion of the list. So here is the syntax. First we need to write the del, then we have to mention the list along with the index. So like pop method, we are providing index here. So it will remove the item from the specified index. So what is the advantage of the del statement? We can even remove the slice from the string specified by this range. It will go from start and it will continue till stop -1. So let's consider one example. Here is a list 1 with some integer values. Here I am using del statement to delete the item which is at the index 2. So this is the 0th index, this is 1, this is 2. So 30 will get deleted from the list. So we got this list with the removed item 30 from the list. Let's delete one portion of the string specified with this index. So starting index is 1 and the ending index is 4, but that we don't include. So we will take 1, 2, 3. So let's try to understand what we will get here. So these are the index. Now we have to take from 1, 2, 3. So this portion will get deleted. So we will get the 10 and 50. After removing these 3 elements, this is our output. If we don't mention any index with the del statement, it deletes all the elements, even it deletes the list too. So if we apply this del statement on this list, del list 1, it will delete all the elements, even this will also get removed. If you will try to print list 1, nothing will get printed. So in 3 ways we can delete an item from the list. One is pop, one is remove, and one is del statement. Let's continue the discussion of the methods. One method is clear. Clear method removes all the elements from the list and the list will become empty. Consider one simple exam. Here is a list of vowels. If I apply the clear method on the vowel, we are getting one empty list. So all the elements got deleted from the list. It does not return anything because this method is getting applied on the original list and the original list is getting changed. It is not creating any new list. The 10th method which we can apply on the list for its manipulation is count. It counts the occurrence of the item in the list. So here is the syntax. We have to mention here item for which you have to count the occurrence. So let's consider one simple example. Here is the list. I have to count how many times this item appears in the list. So you can see here the 40 is 3 times in the list. So we got the answer 3. If the item which you are specifying doesn't exist in the list, then you will get 0. We perform lot of operations on the list. Let's cover one more operation, that we can reverse the list using reverse method. Reverse method reverses the items of the list. So here is the syntax. It doesn't take any argument and it does not return anything because it doesn't create any new list. It changes the original list because list is mutable. Let's try to understand this reverse method with one example. Here is a list of numbers and I applied this method on the list. When I am trying to print the list, you can see here the numbers are reversed. Let me show you that reverse method does not return anything. We are applying here reverse method on the list and trying to store this operation on list 2. So when I am trying to print this list 2, I am not getting any output. But when we try to print this list 1, we are getting the reverse list. That's why this doesn't return anything, because the reverse function reverses the original list. There is one more important operation generally we can perform on any data structure, that is sorting. So for that we have sort method which sorts the item. By default, it will sort in the ascending order. So here is the syntax. This parameter is optional. If you want to sort the list in descending order, you can write reverse equals to true. So consider one list here, and I am applying the sort function on the list 1, and we printed this list 1. We got the list in the sorted order. You can see here the elements were not in a order, but after applying sort function we got the list in the proper order, that is ascending order. Now I want the list in the reverse direction, so I use this parameter reverse equals to 2. So the list will get sorted in the descending order, starting with bigger number and going to the smaller number. There is one more way to sort the elements of the list by using sorted function. Sorted function creates a new list with the sorted item. Just now we studied one method sort to sort the element, but what's the difference between sort and sorted? Sorted creates a new list, but sort method doesn't create the new list with the sorted element. It changes the original list. So here is the syntax of the sorted function. This is a function, that's why generally we don't write like list dot. So there are two parameters for this function. The first is sequence. Sequence means it is a list here. And the second parameter is used when we want to sort the elements in the descending order. Consider a list of name A with some integer values. We are applying the sorted function on the list A and initializing that values to a new variable. When I printed that new variable, you can see here we got the new list. So in case of sorted function, new list will get created which will be sorted. And we use this parameter reverse equals to true if we want to sort the list in the descending order. So the new list got created in this variable. So when we printed this variable, we got the new list with the elements in the descending order. There are two ways to sort the elements of the list, by using sort method or by using sorted function. So what's the difference between this? Sort method modifies the original list and the sorted method does not modify the original list. Okay, and the second difference is it does not create the new list. So new list will not get created in case of sort method, but here new list will get created. Sort method works on list and sorted function can work on any sequence. And as this does not create any new list, it does not return anything. And in case of sorted method, yes, it does return the new list. So it returns new list. So these are the some of the differences between the sort and sorted. Finally, we are at the end of the list of the functions and method, and the last category of functions are these three functions. One is min, one is max, and one more is sum. Min returns the minimum value from the list, max returns the maximum value from the list, and sum calculates the sum of the elements of the list. So this is very simple. Here is the syntax for this, and here is the simple example. We are considering one list with some values. If I will try to apply min function on the list, we will get the minimum value. You can see here 10 is the minimum number in the list. Similarly, maximum will give the bigger number of the list, and sum will print the sum of the elements of the list. In the previous chapters, we studied the concept of nested if. We studied the concept of loops also. The same concept we can apply on the list. So what is nested list? List within a list is called as nested list. Let's try to understand the concept of nested list using one simple example. Here is a list 1 with some elements. This is the first element of the list. This is second element of the list. This is third one, and this is the fourth element of the list. You can see here the second element is again another list, consists of two elements in it. Look at the diagram and try to understand. This is the first element of the list, and the second element is consist of two elements in it, and third element and the fourth element which has the index like this. Now how to access the elements of the nested list? If I want to access books, it is very easy. It is list of 0. If I want to access toys, this also is very easy. It is list of 2. But how can I access these elements? If I write list 1, as this is the index of the whole list, we will get the complete nested list. But what if I want to access only the first element of the nested list? Then you can see here we have to mention one more index. So to access the elements of the nested list, we have to write the multiple indices. First I should mention 1, and then I should mention the index 0 because the index of this action is 0. So I will get this word action. If you have studied matrix in maths, then it will be very easy for you to understand this concept. Nested list is used to design two-dimensional list. We can also call it as a matrix. Matrix means when we want to write the data in the tabular form, generally we use the matrix. It consists of horizontal rows and vertical are columns. So there are two types of dimensional list. One is regular dimensional list, where all the elements of the list will be of same length. You can see here the length of the nested list is same. Here also there are two elements, here also there are two elements, and this nested list also contains the two elements. We can write the nested list in this form also, which is equivalent to the matrix. So if you want to access the elements of the nested list, then you can write the index of row first and then the column. If I want to access this element 1, the index for that is 0, 0. If I want to access the element 5, which is here, the index will be 1, 1. So using this concept, you can access the elements of the nested list. It is just like matrix. There is one more type of two-dimensional list which is irregular, in which the length of the nested list will be different. You can see in this example the length of this inner list is 2 and the length of this inner list is 3, which is of different length. At the end, let's summarize the important operations that we can perform on the list. The first is appending element to the item. For appending the item, we have two methods. One is append, one is extend. What's the difference between these two? Append can append the single item, but with extend you can add the list of the items at the end of the list. But if you want to add the item at the specified location, then you can use the insert method. There is one more important operation generally we perform on any data structure, and that is modifying or updating the item. That we can do by directly assigning the value to the required index. Because list is a mutable data type, we can directly change the content of the list. The next important operation is delete. If you know the index of the item, then you can use pop method. If you don't know the index but you know the value, then you can use remove. There is one more option to delete an item from the list. We can use del statement. What is the advantage of using del statement? We can delete sublist from the main list. The last important operation which we can perform on list, that is sorting a list. For that you can use sort method. Let's implement some of the function. These operations we are going to perform on the list. First is create the list. So I have initialized the elements of the list. You can even use input statement to take the input from the user. Now I am going to use the append method to append the item to the list. So the name of the list is list1 dot append Now we have to add 6 at the end of the list. So I am writing the element. By default it will insert at the end of the list. So let's print the list after appending the item. You can see here the element 6 got appended at the end of the list. There is one more method extend to append the item in the list, but it will take the list as an argument. So we need one more list. So I am initializing one more list here. Now I will take the elements 7 and 8, and this we will try to add in the list now. So the format is list1 dot extend. In the bracket we have to mention list2. Now let's print the new list. Let's check the output. You can see here the new list 7, 8 got appended in the main list. With these two methods we can add the item at the end only, but with the insert method we can insert the item at the specified location. So let's use it. lst1 dot insert. You can check the syntax here itself. First we have to mention the index and then we have to mention the item. So let's give some random index. I will give 2, and at 2 I have to insert some item. Let's take 9. Now again we have to print the new list. You can see in the output, in the updated list, the item 9 got inserted at the location 2. Let's move ahead with the next operation. Next operation is modify. You know, in case of list we can modify directly by assigning the value. So I am going to assign some random value to the index 3. So let's print the updated list again. Let's check the output. You can see in this list the element 15 got inserted at the index 3. So this is the 0th index, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So the list got modified. The next operation is delete. Delete we can perform in 3 ways. One is pop method, one is remove method, and one is del statement. So let's implement that. So first is pop. So lst1 dot pop. In pop we have to mention the index. So I will give the index 1. The next is remove. In case of remove we have to give the value. Now I will delete the element 15 which I inserted. After using pop and remove, let's print the updated list first. You can see in the output the element at the index 1 was 2, it got deleted. Then we removed the item 15, that also got deleted. So this is the list. Now we can use del statement to remove the slice of the list. So I will give the list name. In bracket we have to mention the index. So from 2 to 5, suppose I want to delete. Now again print the list after del statement. I mentioned the index 2 to 5, so it will go from 2 to 4. So 0, 1, 2. So it will start from here 3, 4. So 4, 5, 6 got deleted and the remaining list is 1978. The last operation is sort. Let's try that and print the list. So the list 1 dot sort method we are applying here. Check the output. After sorting we got the list in the ascending order. In this way we implemented some of the methods. Try to write more programs which will implement other methods also. There are a lot of programs in your textbook. If you will practice more programs, then the effect of the methods will be clear. So in this video we studied one of the data type provided by the Python, that is list. Hope you have understood the concept. In the next video I am going to cover chapter number 11, that is tuples. So till then keep studying. See you in the next video.